Commander Hana sat in her small office aboard the space station that floated between the stars. Through her window, she could see ships from dozens of different alien races coming and going. Some looked like giant metal insects, others like flowing water held together by invisible force fields. But her own ship, the human vessel docked at the station, looked plain and simple compared to them all. She picked up the latest report from her desk and sighed. Another day, another set of offers that Earth would politely refuse. The blue-skinned Rigelians wanted to build a trading post in human space. The crystal beings from Vega offered to share their advanced shield technology. The insect-like Mantari promised to teach humans how to terraform dead planets. All generous offers. All would be declined with the same polite message Earth had been sending for over 200 years. "Commander," said Juno, her young assistant, stepping into the office. "The Centauri Republic is asking again about setting up a colony route through our solar system. They say they'll pay us millions of credits just for passage rights." Hana set down the report and looked at Juno. The younger woman had been stationed at this diplomatic outpost for only 6 months, and Hana could see the confusion in her eyes. Like most humans working in the galactic community, Juno couldn't understand why Earth refused every opportunity to expand and grow. "Same answer as always," Hana said gently. "Earth appreciates their offer, but we're not ready for that kind of arrangement." Juno frowned. "But Commander, we could really use those credits. And it's just passage rights. They wouldn't even stop. In our system." This was the question Hana heard most often from her staff. Why did humanity stay locked in their home solar system, while every other intelligent species spread across hundreds of worlds? The official answer was caution. Earth's government wanted to fully understand galactic politics before making any big commitments. But Hana knew the real answer was much more complicated than that. She walked to her window and looked out at the busy space station. Alien traders negotiated deals in the shopping areas. Military officers from a dozen species shared drinks in the recreation centers. Scientists exchanged research in the laboratories. And through it all, humanity maintained the smallest possible presence. "Juno," she said quietly, "what do you think the other species call us?" "The Silent Ones," Juno replied immediately. Everyone knew that nickname. "And why do you think they call us that?" Juno thought for a moment. "Because we don't talk much in the big council meetings. We don't make alliances or trade agreements. We just stay quiet and keep to ourselves." Hana nodded. "That's exactly right. For over 2 centuries, we've been the quiet neighbors who never cause trouble. We send polite, diplomatic messages. We attend the required meetings. We pay our small membership fees to the Galactic Council. But we never ask for anything, and we never offer anything significant." "It seems like we're wasting opportunities," Juno said honestly. "Does it?" Hana asked. "Tell me, what do you know about the Zarathi Confederation?" "They're one of the big military powers," Juno answered. "They control maybe a quarter of this part of the galaxy, very aggressive. They've conquered 17 different species in the last 50 years. And what about the hegemony? Or the trade consortium?" "Similar stories. Big, powerful, always expanding." Hana turned back to her assistant. "And what do all these powerful civilizations think about humanity?" Juno looked puzzled. "I guess they don't think about us much at all. We're too small and unimportant." "Exactly," Hana said with a small smile. "We're so unimportant that they barely notice us. The Zarathi have detailed intelligence reports on every major military power in the galaxy. But their file on humanity is probably just a few pages long. The Trade Consortium monitors the economies of hundreds of worlds, but they assume Earth's economy is too primitive to matter." "But that means we're being left behind," Juno protested. "While everyone else grows stronger, we stay weak." Hana walked back to her desk and picked up another report. This one had a very different classification level than the trade offers. It was marked with security codes that Juno had never seen before. "Juno," she said carefully, "what if I told you that humanity wasn't staying in the Sol system at all? What if I told you we've been expanding for over a century, but in a way that nobody else would recognize?" The younger woman stared at her commander. "I don't understand. What if the reason we appear weak and uninterested is because we want to appear that way? What if being underestimated was the whole point? Before Juno could ask any more questions, Hana's communication device chimed with an urgent message. She read it quickly and her expression grew serious. Juno, I need you to send a message to Earth immediately. Priority 1 classification. Tell them the Zerathi Confederation has issued an ultimatum to humanity. They want us to submit to their authority or face what they call pacification. An ultimatum? Juno gasped. But they have thousands of warships. We only have a few hundred ships in our entire space force. Hana looked at her assistant for a long moment, then made a decision that would change everything. Juno, she said quietly, sit down. It's time you learned what humanity has really been doing for the past 200 years. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stood before the massive holographic display in his command center, studying the image of Earth's solar system. The small blue planet looked so peaceful from this distance, surrounded by only a handful of space stations and mining facilities. His intelligence officers had counted maybe 300 human ships in the entire system, most of them clearly civilian vessels. Pathetic, he muttered to his aide, a younger Zerathi officer named Kelthax. 200 years of spaceflight and this is all they have managed? Kelthax nodded eagerly. Yes, Supreme Admiral. Our scouts report that human technology is at least 50 years behind our own. Their largest warship is smaller than our escort frigates. Vorthak smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Zerathi had built the most powerful military force in known space through careful planning and overwhelming strength. When they wanted something, they took it. When a species resisted, they were crushed. It had worked perfectly for decades. The humans' response to our ultimatum arrived this morning, Kelthax continued, handing over a data pad. Vorthak read the message with growing amusement. The humans thanked the Confederation for their generous offer of protection, but respectfully requested more time to consider their options. They asked for a few months to discuss the matter with their government leaders. More time? Vorthak laughed. They want more time to surrender? It appears so, sir. Should we grant their request? Vorthak turned back to the holographic display. Earth sat at a perfect strategic location, exactly halfway between Confederation space and the rich star systems they planned to conquer next. With a base on Earth, they could launch attacks deeper into the galaxy than ever before. But more importantly, conquering humanity would send a clear message to every other species. If the Confederation could crush even a spacefaring civilization, in their home system no one would dare resist them again. No, Vorthak decided. The humans have had 2 centuries to build proper defenses. If they chose to remain weak, that is their failure. Assemble the 9th Fleet. Kelthax's eyes widened. The entire 9th Fleet, sir? That's 50,000 warships. Exactly. Vorthak's smile grew wider. I want every species in the galaxy to see what happens when someone refuses Confederation protection. 50,000 ships should be more than enough to deal with a few hundred human vessels. As news of the fleet mobilization spread through Confederation space, other military leaders began to take notice. Admiral Zephron, who commanded the 7th Fleet, contacted Vorthak directly. Supreme Admiral, Zephron said via quantum communication, 50,000 ships seems excessive for the human problem. Are you expecting significant resistance? No, Vorthak replied confidently. But I want this to be remembered. When we crush the silent ones in their home system, every other minor species will understand the price of defying us. The fleet began, assembling at the Zerathi staging area, a massive military base built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. Ship after ship arrived from across Confederation space. Battleships the size of cities, carriers loaded with thousands of fighter craft, destroyers bristling with weapons designed to crack planetary shields. Other galactic powers watched the buildup with growing concern. The Rigelian Defense Council called an emergency meeting. The Centauri Republic moved their own fleets to defensive positions. Everyone expected humanity to be destroyed within days of the Confederation's arrival. On Earth, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean in a facility that appeared on no public maps, Admiral Hyun received the intelligence reports with calm interest. The hidden command center buzzed with quiet activity. as staff officers analyzed every detail of the approaching Zarathi fleet. 50,000 ships, reported Colonel Minho, Earth's chief intelligence officer. The largest single military force ever assembled in galactic history. Composition? Hyun asked. Standard Confederation doctrine. Heavy battleships for planetary bombardment. Carrier groups for space superiority. Destroyer screens for anti-fighter work. They're expecting to face our visible fleet of 300 ships. Hyun nodded slowly. And they have no idea what we've really been doing for the past 2 centuries. Another officer, Captain Soman, approached with a different report. Sir, our deep space observers report that news of the fleet mobilization has reached every major power in the galaxy. The Galactic Council is calling for emergency sessions. Several species are offering to mediate. Let them talk, Hyun said, quietly. Have our diplomatic staff continue to request more time for negotiations. The longer we can keep the Confederation confident, the better. He walked to a secured terminal and entered his personal authorization codes. The screen displayed a map of local space that would have shocked every intelligence agency in the galaxy. Thousands of small icons dotted the display representing ships that no alien scanner had ever detected. Signal all shadow fleets, Hyun ordered. Activate protocol silence. After 200 years of watching and waiting, it's time to spring the trap. Throughout the galaxy, on ships hidden in asteroid fields and empty space, human crews received the same message. Captain Yoonji, commanding a stealth carrier that had been watching Zarathi military exercises for 6 years, smiled as she read the orders. All hands, she announced to her crew. Prepare for combat operations. The waiting is over. The Confederation's mighty fleet continued its approach toward Earth, confident they were about to crush a weak and defenseless species. They had no idea they were flying directly into the most carefully prepared trap in galactic history. The Zarathi fleet moved through space like a metal storm. 50,000 warships arranged in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on his main screen. Beautiful, isn't it? He said to his aide Kelthax. Soon that little blue world will fly our flag. The fleet had been traveling for 3 days, and long-range sensors showed exactly what Vorthak expected. A few hundred human ships scattered around their solar system, most of them clearly not military vessels. Some appeared to be mining ships working in the asteroid belt. Others looked like simple cargo transports moving between planets. Sir, reported the sensor officer, we're detecting 237 human vessels total. Most are civilian craft. We count maybe 40 ships that could be considered warships, and they're all much smaller than our frigates. Vorthak nodded with satisfaction. The intelligence reports had been accurate. Humanity really was as weak as they appeared. Where are they positioning for defense? He asked. That's the strange part, sir. They're not forming any defensive lines. Most of their ships are just continuing their normal activities. A few have moved closer to Earth, but they don't seem to be preparing for battle. Perhaps they've already decided to surrender, Kelthax suggested. Humans are known to be peaceful. Maybe they realized fighting is useless. Possible, Vorthak agreed. But we'll proceed with the conquest as planned. I want every species in the galaxy to see what happens here. As the Confederation fleet entered the outer edge of the solar system, something strange began to happen. The space around them, which had appeared empty on all their sensors, started to shimmer and distort. Sir, the sensor officer called out suddenly, I'm getting some unusual readings. What kind of readings? Vorthak demanded. Energy signatures, sir. Very faint, but they're appearing all around us. It's like something is dropping stealth. Fields, Vorthak frowned. Stealth fields? Humans don't have stealth technology. That's when the darkness came alive. What had looked like empty space between the Zarathi ships suddenly revealed sleek, predatory shapes. Human vessels, invisible until this moment, began appearing everywhere. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Captain Yoonji watched from the bridge of her stealth carrier as her ship dropped its camouflage. For 6 years, she and her crew had been hiding in this exact position, studying Zarathi fleet movements and waiting for this moment. All fighter squadrons prepare for launch, she ordered calmly. Target their command ships first. Around her, the rest of the hidden fleet was doing the same thing. Ships that had been watching and waiting in the empty spaces between planets suddenly revealed themselves. Each one had been positioned with surgical precision, surrounding the Confederation fleet from every direction. But this was only the beginning. Captain J commanded a destroyer that had been hiding in the shadow of Jupiter's largest moon. His ship had been there for 2 years, completely undetected by passing alien patrols. Drop stealth field, he ordered. All weapons ready. Across the solar system, 800 human ships revealed themselves simultaneously. The Zarathi sensors, designed for normal space combat, were overwhelmed by the sudden appearance of so many vessels. Impossible, Vorthak shouted at his tactical display. Where did they all come from? Sir, they're everywhere. Above us, below us, surrounding our entire formation. But even this wasn't the full extent of humanity's preparation. Admiral Hyun, watching from his command center on Earth, activated the next phase of the plan. Signal all deep space units, he commanded. Full revelation protocol. Throughout local space, extending dozens of light years in every direction, humanity's true fleet began to show itself. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields revealed their positions. Vessels camouflaged against the hulls of dead moons dropped their disguises. Entire battle groups that had been waiting in the empty darkness between star systems suddenly appeared on sensors. Captain Soman had been commanding a battlecruiser hidden in an asteroid field near Alpha Centauri for 4 years. When the signal came, she smiled grimly. All ships drop stealth systems. She ordered her battle group. Let them see what we've really been building. The revelation spread like ripples through space. What the galaxy had believed to be empty regions suddenly revealed massive human fleets. Ships appeared from hiding places that alien scouts had passed by countless times without detecting anything. Vorthak stared at his tactical display in absolute horror. The numbers kept climbing as more human vessels revealed themselves. 10,000 ships. 20,000. 50,000. The count continued rising. How many are there? He whispered. Sir, I'm reading over 800,000 human vessels, his sensor officer reported in a shaking voice. They're everywhere. We're completely surrounded. The Confederation fleet, which had seemed so mighty just minutes before, was suddenly outnumbered 16-1. But the real shock wasn't the numbers. It was the ships themselves. These weren't the primitive vessels the Zarathi had expected. Each human ship was sleek and deadly, clearly built for war. Their weapons were already powering up, targeting systems locking onto Confederation vessels. Incoming transmission from the human fleet, reported the communications officer. Put it through, Vorthak said weakly. This is Admiral Hyun of the Terran Defense Force, came a calm, steady voice. You are surrounded and outgunned. Power down. Your weapons and prepare to surrender or be destroyed. Vorthak's mouth fell open. Terran Defense Force? You're supposed to be the silent ones. We've been silent, Admiral Hyun replied. That doesn't mean we've been inactive. Supreme Admiral Vorthak stared at his tactical screen in complete shock. The numbers kept changing as more human ships revealed themselves. What had started as a simple conquest was turning into his worst nightmare. Sir, what are your orders? Asked Kelthax, his voice trembling. Vorthak couldn't answer. His mighty fleet of 50,000 ships was surrounded by 800,000 human vessels. How was this possible? Every intelligence report said humans were weak and primitive. Open a channel to the human admiral, he finally managed to say. This is Admiral Hyun, came the calm voice again. You have 30 seconds to surrender before we open fire. Wait, Vorthak shouted. This is impossible. Our scouts have been watching your system for decades. You only have a few hundred ships. You saw what we wanted you to see, Admiral Hyun replied simply. 30 seconds. Captain J watched the Confederation fleet from his destroyer. For 2 years, he had studied every type of Zarathi ship while hiding near Jupiter. He knew exactly where their shields were weakest and which weapons would penetrate their armor. All ships target the enemy flagship, he commanded his battle group. Fire on my mark. Around the solar system, other human captains were doing the same thing. Every weapon had been designed specifically to fight Confederation technology. Every ship carried countermeasures that the Zarathi had never seen before. Captain Yuna commanded a heavy cruiser that had been hiding in the asteroid belt. Her ship alone carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. But more importantly, it carried weapons that could punch through Zarathi shields like they were made of paper. Their adaptive armor is useless against our quantum disruptors, she reported to the fleet, just like our tests predicted. This was humanity's greatest advantage. For 2 centuries they had been watching and learning. Every alien ship design had been studied. Every weapon system had been analyzed. Every defensive technology had been tested in secret. The Zarathi had built their shields to stop the energy weapons that most galactic civilizations used. But human scientists had spent decades developing completely new types of weapons that worked in ways the Confederation had never imagined. Time's up, Admiral Hune announced from Earth. All ships, commence firing. What happened next wasn't really a battle. It was a demonstration of what 200 years of careful preparation could accomplish. Human ships opened fire with surgical precision. Their weapons, calibrated specifically for Zarathi technology, tore through enemy shields and armor like they weren't even there. Ships that had conquered 17 different species crumpled under the focused assault. Captain Yunji launched her fighters from the stealth carrier. Each small craft carried missiles designed to exploit specific weaknesses in Confederation point defense systems. The enemy's automated guns programmed to stop conventional attacks couldn't track the new weapons. Direct hit on their command tower, reported her weapons officer. Their flagship is burning. Supreme Admiral Vorthak felt his ship shake under the impact of human weapons. Alarms blared throughout the bridge as systems failed one after another. Shields are down to 20%, his tactical officer shouted. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Return fire, Vorthak ordered desperately. But when his ships tried to fight back, they discovered another horrible truth. The humans had been studying Confederation weapons just as carefully as their defenses. Every human ship carried jamming systems designed to disrupt Zarathi targeting computers, energy fields that could deflect their missiles, armor that could absorb their particle beams. Captain Soman watched enemy fire splash harmlessly against her ship's hull. The Confederation's most powerful weapons couldn't even scratch the new human armor. Their plasma cannons are completely ineffective, she reported. Our defensive systems are working perfectly. This was the trap humanity had spent 2 centuries preparing. Not just superior numbers, but superior everything. Better weapons, better defenses, better tactics. Every aspect of human military technology had been developed specifically to counter known galactic threats. The Zarathi fleet began to break apart. Some ships tried to escape, only to find human vessels waiting in every direction. Others attempted to group together for a coordinated defense, but human battle computers had already predicted every possible Confederation tactic. This is impossible, Vorthak screamed into his communicator. How do you know our every move? We've been watching you for decades, Admiral Hyun replied. Every military exercise, every battle, every tactical innovation. We know how you fight better than you do. Captain Jay's destroyer group moved in perfect formation, their attack pattern designed to exploit a specific weakness in Confederation battle doctrine that human observers had noticed 15 years ago. Target their supply ships, he ordered. Cut off their ammunition and fuel. The systematic destruction continued. Human ships moved with mechanical precision, each attack calculated for maximum effect. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary risks. Every shot had a purpose. Within 4 hours, half the Confederation fleet was either destroyed or crippled. The survivors found themselves trapped in an ever-shrinking circle of human ships. I surrender, Vorthak finally broadcast. The Confederation surrenders. Too late for that, Admiral Hyun replied coldly. You came here to conquer. Now you'll serve as an example to anyone else who makes the same mistake. The mighty Zarathi fleet, the largest military force ever assembled, was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that wasn't supposed to exist. The trap had sprung perfectly. Within 6 hours, the Zarathi Confederation's mightiest fleet was either captured or destroyed. The few surviving ships limped back to Confederation space, carrying warnings that would reshape galactic politics overnight. Captain Hannah Park, still aboard the diplomatic vessel at Kepler Station, watched the galactic news feeds with careful neutrality. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as humanity's hidden fleets revealed themselves. Species that had dismissed Earth as irrelevant suddenly realized they had been observed, studied, and potentially surrounded for generations. The Regelian Defense Force is requesting an immediate audience, reported Lieutenant Juno Kim. So, are the Centauri Republic, the Vegan Consortium, and, well, everyone? Hannah nodded calmly. Schedule meetings for next week. We have much to discuss. On Earth, Admiral Hyun Woo addressed the Galactic Council via quantum transmission. For 2 centuries, humanity has maintained what you called the Great Silence. We allowed you to believe we were a minor species, confined to our home system through fear or lack of ambition. The assembled representatives listened in stunned silence as human ships continued to decloak throughout their territories. The truth is simpler, Hyun-woo continued. We were watching, learning, preparing. We've been the galaxy's unseen guardians, ensuring that no single power grew too large or aggressive. The Zarathi Confederation crossed that line. Captain Soman Choi, no longer hiding in empty space, led a flotilla of former stealth ships toward the Confederation border. Her mission was simple: ensure that no species would again threaten galactic stability. The galaxy believed we were silent because we were weak, she told her crew. They never considered that we might be silent because we were strong. The revelation changed everything. Trade routes were renegotiated. Military alliances shifted. Species that had grown comfortable with their power found themselves reconsidering their ambitions, knowing that humanity had been watching all along. In his final log as Earth's defense admiral, Hyun-woo wrote, "Today the galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our numbers. It was our patience. For 200 years we waited and watched and prepared. The trap is sprung. The balance is restored. The silent ones had found their voice, and the galaxy would never be the same."